change. Personal storage, relatively new and perhaps not as much used in South Africa as in other places, is becoming a booming industry. Attie van der Linde is Managing Director of Storage, RSA, and he joins us now for more. Good morning, Attie. And it's an interesting thing. You hear occasionally people say, I put stuff into storage, and one has a vague idea of a garage somewhere with stuff in it. There's been that US program where people break open garages of stuff that's been stored for too long. What is the state of play? How big an industry is this in South Africa and globally?
Good morning, David. Yes, you're quite right. It's quite a large industry. I think in the States, it's actually a massive industry. The market leader in the States, for instance, a company by the name of Public Storage, is about a $10 billion company. Now, if you relate that back to South Africa, it's about the size of GrowthPoint, Redefine, and AccuCap altogether.
Sure.
So it's a massive market there. There's about 48,500 facilities. South Africa, obviously, a much, much smaller market. There's no official research in South Africa indicating to anybody what is the size of the market. So Storage RSA has done its own research. That's our company. And we have concluded there's probably about 450 facilities in South Africa. So it's significantly smaller than the United States. We think also that the South African market, there's about 3% of our population that earns an income that is storing, which is very much in line with the rest of the world. So I think whereas the market has been very much in its startup phase in the last decade, recently I think the market is probably approaching maturity.
Attie, my personal experience is that storage facilities are somewhat of a well-kept secret. I mean, personally, having to pack up my life for 12 months, I've actually used one of these storage companies in South Africa, but it was such a nightmare to actually find one. Do you think it's a lack of demand, or it's just the advertising is just not strong enough?
Yeah, I must say, being in the industry, I find that quite surprising. But it is, as you say, probably a very small percentage of the population is aware of it. And as I think I said earlier on, about 3% of the income-earning population of South Africa is currently storing. It's the same sort of number, I think, all over the world. In the States, for instance, I know there's about 9% of the population that say that they have stored in the last 12 months. And I think that normally people have to go through life events to store. You know, it's not like a product that you use on a frequent basis. You have to go through a life event. You have to have an experience of a change in job, and you have to move to another city. There's divorces, there's retirements, there's empty nests. There's all sorts of reasons why people want to store, but it's normally coupled with a life event. And therefore, people would often say that storage is needed every 3 years, every 5 years, or every 7 years. So I think it's, from that perspective, perhaps somewhat unknown. But I think most self-storage facilities is trying to position themselves on highways so that people can become aware of it. And on a frequent basis, if you see these facilities, once you need them, hopefully they will pop up in your mind.
Attie, while you were talking there, we were showing some pictures of storage facilities. What is the typical facility? I mean, it's a warehouse. Is it the equivalent of car garages, except often they're not used to store cars? What is the typical facility? What are the issues? I mean, surely security is number one. Yeah, you're quite right. The facility is normally what one would call a garage or a storage unit. They vary in sizes from 1.5 square meters to 18 square meters is like the benchmark size. And you can even get them bigger than that, 40 square meters and so. Security is a major issue. Most self-storage companies would invest significantly in security with CCTV cameras. People need to feel safe when they go to self-storage facilities.
Attie, what is the lay of the land in terms of how the industry is structured? How many players, more or less, are we looking at? Again, what stands out to me is the green and white company, which I'm sure is probably one of your competitors, that comes across as maybe a dominator in the industry. Is this an accurate perception that I have?
Yeah, it's a very fragmented industry. I think all over the world it's very fragmented. There's no major economy of scale benefits in the industry, so you'll find that the market leaders all over the world will have about a 5% or a 3% market share. I think in South Africa it's the case as well. In South Africa we have 4 major players. They are Storage, Storage RSA, Extra Space and Rent a Store. But all of them command less than 10% market share.
Attie, I'm interested in how you got into this. I mean, you didn't grow up presumably wanting to be a storage MD. What was your route to this? And it sounds like you've been an entrepreneur.
Yes, I've been very much an entrepreneur. Like many other entrepreneurs, I spent some time in the corporate world up till about 10 years ago, and then decided it's time to start my own thing. And I started the business around about 2004.
And where do you see the growth coming from, Attie? Where do you see the storage industry going?
I think there's 3 things that probably drive self-storage demand. First of all, I think we're all aware of the densification of our cities, which is a general theme all over. That will force people obviously to have some place where they can store some of their goods. Then there's the normal population growth. And then I think all over the world we've seen there's something like a growth in penetration. In the initial stages of the industry, very few people store, and then it slowly grows. The average growth is between 4 and 8% at the moment all over the world. So the penetration will grow slowly into the population over time.
Attie, thank you so much for making the time to join us. That's Attie van der Linde. He's the Managing Director of Storage RSA.